Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Blue Seat. This is our second segment, and we are so honored to have Representative Ausley joining us in the Blue Seat to tell us a little bit more about advocacy. And for those of you who don't know, Representative Ausley has been on a number of boards. She's also started, one of the starting or co-founders of the Oasis Center, among numerous things. And I personally know Representative Ausley from her dedication to the March of Dimes when her son Will was born.
Right.
And he's now a thriving teenager, if I understand correctly.
16.
Oh, bless you. Dealing with a teenager at home. But we're going to get started again, the focus being on advocacy and how nonprofits can do a better job with that. And my first question for Representative Ausley, also known as Rep, is this wonderful article that I happened to find. It was in the November Nonprofit Quarterly, and the article addresses advocacy as a nonprofit core competency. So what can organizations hope to gain by allocating resources to grassroots lobbying?
So, I'm really glad you brought that article up because I looked at it, and it's really, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about this question of the nonprofit sector and the interaction with the government sector. But it's really important, and it's important, I think, for nonprofits, and I think this article is very clear about this, to know what the laws are, to know what type of organization you have, but not to be afraid of advocating, because so much of what all of our nonprofits they're in the business of advocating for those who don't have a voice and preserving those who don't have a voice. And that I think the individual voices of nonprofits on their specific issues and advocacy around those, as well as the collective voices of the nonprofit community, can play very important roles.
Excellent. That same article, Representative Ausley, states that funding for important programs hang in the balance, including grant programs are being eliminated or redefined, and much needed legislation and appropriations are being held hostage by both state legislatures and the U.S. Congress. It also states on a national level how there are proposed changes in the tax code that would eliminate charitable deductions for more donors, which is a huge concern in the nonprofit sector. So what are your opinions regarding these changes and how they may impact our local nonprofits?
Well, I think it's really important for nonprofits to understand that we're getting squeezed from every side here. First of all, there are programmatic changes and funding changes, and more it seems that state and local and federal governments are really forcing nonprofits to the pie is getting smaller, and everyone's having to fight for limited resources. At the same time, we're also making changes at the state level and at the federal level that make it harder for nonprofits to raise the money that they need to. So sort of squeezing from all ends. So I don't know what the answer is. I think it's important to understand what these things are happening. Even here in Florida, just in the past couple of years, the whole state employee charitable campaign has gone away. So it used to be back in the day, the local United Way and local nonprofits, it was a big morale boost for the state agencies to get involved in the state employee charitable campaign all year long. They would compete against each other. They'd have bake sales, and they would be building morale within their agencies while also having an outlet to support the nonprofits in our community. That charitable campaign was ended. There's just been a move away from that sort of fundraising, and it's unfortunate. So that it's a whole source of resources that at the state level, and then of course there's federal changes with itemized deduction and other potential changes down the pike. So we have to be really strategic and looking at what's happening and being very creative about how to be able to serve our populations.
Well, on that note, that's a perfect segue into the next question. Is, in your opinion, name 3 things that nonprofit organizations can do to capture a listening ear of their legislatures?
So I think the first thing is, it's never too early to start. So while I know there's a gray area about campaigns, but there is an education aspect of